Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to my review of Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
It's coming! It's coming!
Okay, so yeah, this was interesting. I don't want to say that I was really looking forward to this. I don't really know how I felt about this kind of going into it. It was something that when it was announced, I had some hopes for it. I was like sitting here thinking, maybe now that we've kind of gotten Victor Salva out of the picture, and with the way the third one went and the way they were kind of, just really grasping at straws to try to get something out of this franchise, we could kind of maybe take a step back, reassess some things, and come in here and give it a new, fresh take with a new director behind the camera, new writers, just new creatives as a whole. And I was excited for that. I'm always interested for another take on something. I know that might be a little bit of a stigma to some of you guys. You're kind of looking for, I want the original person behind the camera doing everything. But for me, I never have an issue with an alternative take. I never have an issue with something coming in and giving their shot. This though, I mean, this was a fucking mess. Like, I really can't even sugarcoat anything. This movie was, without a doubt, I even say, I kind of went into this expecting to, with kind of what I've been hearing and from the trailer and everything, kind of expecting this to not be great, but I didn't expect this to be possibly worse than chapter 3. And God, I don't even know if I can say that. I think that they are just both on the same level. I mean, quality wise, for sure, they are really neck and neck right there. But I mean, I just don't understand why we can't get this character in this franchise back on track. It's not a complex story. It's not like it's, we're breaking the mold or anything. It's all right there in the first film. All the rules, everything that you need to do to show that it has success. And there's a reason that the Creeper has kind of been one of those modern, as I guess you'd say, modern horror icons, because we have a lot of them from the 80s, we have a lot of them from the 90s too, but like for the most part, once you get into the 2000s, you don't have many. The only ones I can really think of are like Sam from Trick or Treat, but even then that took some time before he really started to kind of climb up in prominence. So the Creeper really has a shot here of having a really awesome franchise and something that they can kind of keep releasing movie after movie after movie. And I'm okay with movies like this not being, high art cinema. I don't go in here expecting things like The Exorcist or Hereditary or anything like that. That would be preposterous. I go in looking for a good time, good gore, great effects, and just some overall creativity with how they're going to, present the creature and how they're going to get him, what is his MacGuffin per se this time? What are we going to be dealing with? And, that's a pretty simple formula that I am just baffled that they just can't seem to get right. And this movie, I mean, I took some notes, just going over a couple of the things that really stood out to me. I mean, a couple of them could be considered spoilers, so I'll save them for my little spoiler section at the end here. But really, I don't think there's anything worth even checking this movie out for. So, really, if you do not care, you could watch the spoiler section here. Um, but overall, there is just the thing I could not get over was that there is a segment of this movie where it is clearly shot on green screen. Now, I'm not talking about like, people complain like with MCU movies and stuff like, oh, you can tell that they're not in a physical environment. You legitimately can tell that they are on a studio. Like when I was in film school, you could literally like you could make a better background than what they made for some of these shots. And like it isn't just like a couple of quick shots. They literally spend probably about the middle section of this film on these sets, and it is really really bad. It is horribly noticeable, and I just could not believe it. I sat there with my hands over my face just thinking, this can't be real life. Like, you guys can't be telling me that you're charging $15 to go see this right now. And this is what you're bringing us. Now, I get it. This was a Fathom event. This was a special event kind of thing. It's only going to be in theaters for 3 days, so you're paying the premium to go see it on the big screen. I did this purely because it's horror. This is a horror channel. I have experience with the other two films. I guess, yeah, what I consider the other two. I don't even consider the third as a part of this franchise. So, I was just, again, hoping that we would get something of at least minor quality here. And I should have known just from watching that first trailer and everything that we were just not headed in that direction. But I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And I think, other than that, the greatest sin that this movie commits to me is the creeper himself.
What the hell is that?
I think that, they come at it from an angle of, we are seeing the creeper emerge for the first time in 23 years. So he's not up to standard. But the fact that they got the effects and the makeup to look so cheap, and the furthest thing from what we had in those first two films, and I would say even in the third film, that it's mind-boggling to me. Why? This is like taking Jason's hockey mask and, like, completely rearranging it. And I'm not just talking about blue stripes or anything like that. I'm talking about, like, making it a completely different design to where the character is unrecognizable. And it's baffling. It never looks good. Not a single shot. When he first comes up on screen, he's emerging from the ground, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, we've got to be, just kind of teeing this up. He's weak. He's got to feed a little bit, and then they'll kind of fix the effects as they go along. No, it might improve slightly, but you never get the quality of effects that you get from those first two films. And I understand that maybe this film has a lower budget than those, but I mean, it looks like it's on the same level of quality as the third film, and the third film still has a decent looking creeper. What happened? What are we doing? And it just feels like this was a cash grab. It genuinely feels like they wanted to put something out there, with everything going on with all these reboots, and, like, we have Hellraiser coming to Hulu. We had the Predator franchise coming back with Prey, and Halloween over the last few years has been doing a whole bunch of, like, great things at the box office. They just wanted something to come back with, and, they failed on every single perceivable level for me. And I think that if you're a fan of this franchise, if you're a fan of horror movies in general, you're going to feel the exact same way. I can't recommend anybody go see this movie. I would say if you're going to check this out, you don't want to pay for it, especially not $15, because this movie isn't even worth $5, in my opinion. I would wait to see what random streaming service this pops up on. And then if you are that interested, go ahead and check it out. Because for me, this is not worth it. This is not a step in the right direction. This is not us, getting the ship righted in any way sense. It's just a mess. And I mean, I could go in here and tell you more about, like, the performances and everything, but I mean, I don't need to. I mean, it's all there. It's all there in the trailer. It's all there in the marketing. You can see that this just is not a quality film. And I knew that going in. I knew that it was going to be lower tier, but I'm just baffled by how low it got. And there are elements, of course, that are introduced that don't follow through. They are claiming that this is going to start a new trilogy. I highly doubt we are going to get a sequel. And if we do, I will be completely baffled on why. Because I don't think there's going to be a single person that defends this movie. Now, there might be. there might be people who enjoy this, and if you do, I'm happy for you. But for me personally, this was a complete botch in every sense of the word. I cannot recommend going out and seeing Jeepers Creepers Reborn. So that's going to end just my review of this. I'm going to throw up a spoiler warning here. So if you really do not want spoilers, I would click off this right now, go watch the movie. Maybe you'll pull something more out of it. I don't know. And come back and hear the rest of my thoughts. But till then, that's that. So from here on out, we're talking spoilers. And I was pretty much, I kind of knew what we were in for the second this thing started. When we basically, the beginning part of the film, I was surprised to actually see Dee Wallace. She's in this for a very brief moment. And it's kind of weird in a sense of like, it's almost like they recreate the events of the first film, at least the first half of it. They're an older couple driving down the road, and the creeper comes up in his truck, which isn't his truck. It looks completely different. But there's a reason for that. And, he comes up and he does everything from the first movie. Like that first interaction, he's beeping his horn. He's trying to run him off the road. He buzzes past him. They drive by a house. They see him dumping bodies down a tube. He follows them after that. All that ensues. And I'm just sitting here like, this is really odd. This is really just the first movie. Why are they showing us this? And then, it's revealed as the events go on and they make some boneheaded decisions that this is like a recreation, kind of explaining the legend of the creeper that one of the characters is watching on their phone, which, okay, neat take. But again, why are we rehashing this? It really served no purpose. And as we continue on with this movie, it's really centered around this big horror hound festival that our characters are going to. And they get there and everything just looks cheap. It looks slapped together. There's little signs up there that just say like, this is a bar, this is a carnival game and stuff like that. And it's just like you see everybody. I guess you could really tell that the people behind the scenes though were horror fans, because there's a lot of great homages to characters. I guess great isn't the right word, but like there are homages to them. There's like people dressed as Pennywise and all this stuff, and that's all fun and dandy. But like really, where things start to get even worse for me in this segment of the film is that I kind of expected this to turn into like an all-out bloodbath, and that never happens. Our characters win a raffle and then they go off, and then it becomes a haunted house film with the creeper. What this does start to introduce, though, that was even worse for me, is this cult element of like, there's this cult of the creeper where they're like, trying to, the main character is pregnant. And that's kind of the whole reborn aspect of it. He wants the life force of the baby so he can be reborn. I guess from what I understand, the intent was to, and I got to say this, I didn't say it earlier, but the original actor for the creeper is not here. He's not present. And I guess the attempt is that he would come back in the sequels, maybe. And because he's not at full strength, I don't know why. I think maybe it's a budgetary thing. They didn't put him in there. Either way, it's a mess, and it didn't work for me. But yeah, this cult angle too, it just felt so ham-fisted and forced. And the actors, they're doing their job, but like they are, I don't even want to say like soap opera bad. They are literally just like there to deliver lines, and that's it. And it's just overall, it's all soulless. It just all feels like a cash grab, and nothing really makes sense. I mean, we get to the haunted house section of things. People just start getting picked off. None of these characters are overtly likable, other than maybe our two leads. But even then, like, they get such very minimal screen time as far as like to develop them in a way. Like there's a lot of downtime with them, but like you really don't get much. It's really just kind of little tiny set pieces that kind of just push you through to the next scene. and it's a mess. Like, I mean, I kind of sound like a broken record here. Funny enough, they do smash a record in this movie and it pisses the creeper off, which was laughable in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, it's so discombobulated. You can really tell that this just didn't know what it wanted to be or what it wanted to do. And it's frustrating. It is, because again, this is a simple concept. This is very much something that you can make for a low budget and make it work. But they really just, I feel like, went for just a recognizable name. They paid somebody to write this flick out, and they made it, and they just wanted to push it out. Now, I don't normally like to sit on here and like bash a creative entirely. I will bash works if I'm upset like I am now, but like I'm not going to sit here and say that, the creative himself, the director, needs to be bashed or anything. But I think the irony of this is that if you go to this event, they play a little like video clip before it where the director's thanking you for watching it, which very humble, very nice, but he talks about COVID restrictions being a huge part of this. And, I would normally say that I could give you a pass on some of these things, but like I've seen movies with lower budgets, um, you know, make movies in this pandemic, make movies during 2020, and they look better and they have more of just attention to detail, and they've kind of maneuvered and worked around things, and it just really, I couldn't get it out of my head the whole film, that message of just like him almost seeming like, yeah, we know this movie's gonna suck, so I'm just gonna say COVID really shot us in the back for it, but thanks for coming out anyway. And I'm sorry, but I mean, whether that's the case or not, I just can't sit here and say that this was an honest attempt. This really just felt like a cash grab, and I was completely just burned out by the end of this movie. I have never really, you hear stories of people wanting to walk out of films, and I was really close. Like, I mean, if this review and this channel wasn't around, I would have probably walked out of this thing. And I'm sorry to be so dramatic and to just be so animated with this, but it's frustrating because I had low expectations for this. And for you to hit lower than those expectations by like a mile, it's just soulless, cash grabby garbage. So I'm sorry if you were looking forward to this film. This was not for me. If it's for you, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you got something out of it. But for me, this again is just not up to snuff. This is just not something that we need from a franchise like this that is ailing, that is drowning. We need to, really put something behind this. I think if we, gave the rights to this to somebody from like a Hulu or, a bigger studio, put a little more thought into this, put a little more money into it, and you could really make something quality with this character. I think separating the art from the artist with the whole Victor Salva stuff was a great move, but why give it to somebody who just didn't care? I don't know. I am not the head at Screen Media, but if you are the head at Screen Media and you are watching this, please figure this shit out, because I do not want to see a sequel to this if this is what you're going to produce. I think scrap the whole trilogy, start from ground zero, put a little more money into this, and just try again. Maybe we'll see. And that's everything I can give you right now for Jeepers Creepers Reborn. So thanks for checking this out, guys. Again, this was just a solo one for me. Luke luckily stayed out of this one. I tried to convince him to go see it with me, but he was a smarter man than I. He did not want to spend his money here. And he probably just enjoyed his afternoon watching whatever the hell he felt like. And I spent my afternoon seeing this. But if you enjoyed this little rant, this little review, and you want to see more content from us, feel free to check out our videos on the channel. We just did just a podcast on Child's Play 2, as well as a review for Pearl, which is an infinitely better film than this. And last week we did one for Barbarian, which again, another great horror film. So like, we have some quality in theaters right now. Go check those things out. But if you do want to keep up with us, we have some social media links here with Twitter and Instagram. You can find us on there. We'll always keeping the conversation going, always talking about what's new, what's coming. And yeah, that's all we got there. And if you like this and you feel we deserve it, please hit that subscribe button. We are trying to hit 100 subscribers before the end of October. And yeah, we have some big announcements coming in the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for that. Lots of good stuff coming up in October. And yeah, that's about going to wrap it up here for me, guys. So till next time, stay scared.